Welcome to 2026 here inside the vault. It is January 1st, New Year's Day. I'm Bobby Trossett, joined alongside my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. We're getting ready for it all to come to either a screeching halt on Sunday night or perhaps the beginning of a run, Sarah. And that is what we're working our way towards. It's white on purple. Is that white on black right there? It's white on black, isn't it? That Mark Andrews is showcasing in terms of the threads. Come 8:20 Sunday night, Acrisure, Pittsburgh. We will have our post-game coverage as always around midnight or so. So with that, welcome inside the vault. It's a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. We've got a lot in terms of our rundown for you today, beginning with Mike Preston defending himself, defending his column that he wrote and released leading into Christmas last week. So we'll have some thoughts on that. He had some thoughts on that as well that, Sarah, I know you've clipped up from his podcast with Jerry Coleman. So we'll have that off the top. And then from there, Tony Dungy has a message of sorts for the Ravens coaching staff entering this winner-take-all moment, specifically for the fourth quarter on Sunday night. Derek Harmon versus Derrick Henry. That should be really interesting, being that Derek, their first-round pick and run stuffer specialist that was not available in Week 14, will be coming up on Sunday night. A boatload of quick hits, and then we got to get you on your way as well for your next set of travels. Lots to get to today. It's great to see you. Happy New Year to you and our VAULTRONs.
It's good to see you. And this new year of 2026 is either going to start out with some excitement of holy cow, or the Ravens going to resurrect their season, maybe make something beautiful from the ashes that has been this season with so many injuries, or it's going to start with a dud. And lots of questions are going to be asked about the franchise, where it's headed, what's going to happen next. And so, listen, I'm here. I've got my popcorn ready. I am ready for 2026. But before that game comes, and I wish it would be tomorrow, Bobby. I wish it could come tomorrow, but it is not. And so, as you mentioned, Mike Preston has kind of defended his column. And I keep saying column because when they were talking about it on their podcast, it's the Be More Sports podcast, they kept saying it's a column. It's not a story, it's a column, which I pointed out many times because that means it's an opinion. It means it's somebody's opinion, not necessarily a report. So I've got three smaller clips. I'm going to do, I guess the first one's a little bit longer, where he just generally defends his column. And so if you've been living under a rock since Christmas Eve, because that's when it came out, Mike Preston basically was saying that the Ravens shouldn't let him have $75 million per year, which is what his cap hit will be. It's scheduled to be right now. He knows that there's going to be a renegotiation coming up. At least they're going to attempt one. We'll see what happens. And then he proceeded to call out Lamar Jackson's work ethic, said that he plays video games late into the night, said that he falls asleep in meetings, said that John Harbaugh is tired of it. And even throughout some trade scenarios. So that kind of, if you haven't read it, that's kind of the overview. That is a typical Mike Preston column. I've seen that written by him many times about Lamar, dating back years. Didn't indicate whether this is anything new or just his continued opinion. But it got picked up by a lot of national media. And so lots of people in Baltimore who especially love Lamar, didn't like the column and have been calling him out. And so they decided to address it off the top on their show, the Be More Sports podcast. Here they are.
To that little firestorm you ignited last week. It really began on the podcast and followed up with the column, not the article that you wrote in the Baltimore Sun. Just as Santa was about to deliver the goods right there on Christmas Eve, a bomb went off in Baltimore.
Slow news day, and there wasn't much else to talk about. And to the point where I didn't decide to release the article or the column until I just got to that point where, he needs to step up. He's at the crossroads here in Baltimore. He's got to get it done. It's 3-5 in the postseason. He needs to work on it. And I left open the opportunity for them to just say, hey, I'm not paying him $75 million for the next 2 years. I wouldn't pay him $75 million. Basically, what I wrote was, maybe you ought to give some of it back so you can go get some offensive linemen or some defensive linemen. But at the same time, imagine if this guy, Lamar Jackson, had Derrick Henry's work ethic. man, he could take his game to an entire new level. But instead, he just kind of does his thing, and the Ravens let him get away with it. And that's fine if that's the way you want to treat your superstar quarterback. And nobody likes for you to take on their heroes. Oh my gosh, he wrote these bad things about Lamar Jackson. Look, that's what I do. I challenged Ray Lewis at the end of his career. I challenged Ed Reed at the end of his career. That's where we are. That's where it was. And hey, so be it. If you want to go and read about the great news of the Ravens, go to the Ravens website. If you want commentary and good analysis, I'm here. And if not, it's like Bruce Laird said yesterday, 50,000 people will hate you, 50,000 people will love you, but 100,000 people read you. And that's what I do.
All right, Bobby, I've had the benefit of listening to that before. I have some thoughts prepared, but this is the first time you've heard it. You don't have an instant reaction?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead. All you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to point out, and this is why I'm a little bit frustrated with the national media. He made it clear that it's a column. A column is an opinion-based article. It's not one based off of news. It's not one based off of sources. It's not anything like that. It's not a report from Jeff Zrebeck or Jameson Hensley or any of a number of guys that just report news and aren't in the opinion business. He's been in the opinion business for many years, and it's fine to have an opinion. What's not fine is that you put the opinion out and then everybody else takes it as if it was a report, and that's why I kept calling it a column. So what I found interesting from those clips that I kind of mashed together, it wasn't everything all at once. I kind of put some things together there. Is I asked myself, what prompted this, right? A super chatter asked me a couple days ago, do you think that Mike Preston's lying? I just said, no, I just feel like I've read this column from him before and it's being taken as an article. So why did he write this column? Well, he started out saying, well, there wasn't much to talk about. So that's interesting. That was on Christmas Eve. Then he said that he felt like, he was like, well, you know what? It's time Lamar Jackson steps up. So he felt like it was time to challenge him, as he said. So again, nothing here about, oh, I had a news source tell me this. I had an insider tell me this. Maybe a teammate or a front office person. None of that. He said there wasn't much to talk about. And he said he felt like Lamar needed to step up, which is fine. If you think Lamar needs to step up, that can be your opinion. You can write it. But let's just put that in context when we're talking about it. Then he wanted to put out that he didn't think that the Ravens needed to pay him $75 million. He thinks that Lamar needs to give some money back. And then the very end, and this is what newspapers do, the very end, he also let it be known that yes, people will hate me. Yes, people will love me, but people will read me. And that's what columnists do. And that's how they rise up into, traditional, big time, well-known, well-respected newspaper organizations like The Sun. Is they want somebody who's going to put out opinions that will make them read their newspaper. And he said, and that's what I did. So there wasn't much to talk about. He felt like Lamar needed to step up. He wanted to challenge him, and he did it in a way that everybody would read him. And they did, but they mistook it as a news report and not an opinionated column.
Femi and I spoke about it at length yesterday. I wasn't sure we were going to end up there, but he obviously had some things to get off his chest. I encourage you guys to go check that out in our best of playlist from yesterday. I know, Sarah, you had to catch the NBA game with your family, and I know you watched it back today, and Femi came in passionate, but like my moral of the story is what you just said. The only winner that walked away satisfied in all of this is Mike and the Sun, because you're darn right that it was red, and this thing reached new levels. And so I think there is a level of blame to go around here when it comes to those that helped bring it to astronomical heights, particularly those at the national level, and being able to decipher and understand, the differences between fundamental journalistic approaches that are taken. And you've already mentioned it. It was an opinion-based, generalization-based column that was put out on what he referred to as a slow news day entering the holiday. And for whatever reason, yeah, it was mistook. Or is mistook a word? It was misrepresented. I think that's probably the best way to put it. It was misrepresented, and now here we are a week later and you've got more takeaways from this that we'll get to in a second. But what you're going to find is there's a trend of whether it's his coaches in John Harbaugh's case or his teammates, his peers in Kyle Hamilton, Kyle Van Noy, Mark Andrews cases.
Right.
There are fierce defenses that have been delivered here in recent days and over the last week or so on behalf of Lamar Jackson. And there's no coincidence because of the timing.
Well, and there's definitely no coincidence because of the timing. They're losing, so he felt like he needed to challenge him, and then that got picked up, and everybody picked it up because the Ravens aren't as good as everybody thought. But you mentioned Femi Abedejo. I went back and listened to parts of that, and he talked about how when the practice times were changed. In Mike Preston's column, he attributed that to Lamar Jackson, that they changed it for Lamar. And Femi's like, nope, I got sources of my own. They changed that back in the day with Gus Edwards and the Marcus Peters injury. He's like, that's why they changed it. So I don't know. Again, you can make your opinions more clear versus news because now we've got, was it your opinion that they changed it for Lamar Jackson? Because Femi Abedejo is saying something different. He said that John Harbaugh is growing tired of Lamar Jackson. That's like he states it as a fact, but it in fact was his opinion because John Harbaugh said, I'd like to speak for myself. And so where's that coming from? That's an opinion. There's just so many things. So then it's like, well, but maybe he's like in the locker room and he hears things, this and that. At one point, Preston was talking about how good of a relationship he had with players earlier in his career. He said he'd go in the locker room, he'd spend like 2 hours in there and he'd chop it up with some of the players, Peter Boulware. And he was like, there's a reason why Jonathan Ogden still comes on our show. And it's like, well, Bobby never really covered the Ravens when Jonathan Ogden was there. Jonathan Ogden comes on our show. That doesn't mean that you have a relationship with Lamar Jackson. It's not the same thing. So we kept talking about how much he worked the locker room back in the day, but on his show, he talks about how he doesn't really go in the locker room as much, and he doesn't do that with players as much today.
Saying I can go in the locker room these days because, I'm old enough to be some of their grandfathers. I'm not going to go in there and hang out with these guys. But back in the time and back in the day, I know how locker rooms work. I know it's about fun. I also know they try to intimidate you. But that's all part of the game. That's all part of being a beat writer and a columnist. If you haven't gotten in a fight or an argument with a player in 30 years of covering this football team, then you're probably not doing your job very well. That's what happens.
What do you think the climate's like inside the locker room in terms of the way that Lamar operates? Someone pointed out he plays video games at night, but he wanted the television removed from the locker room, even though half the locker room or maybe 3/4 didn't even know he wanted it out of there.
It's kind of interesting. And again, I don't go in there as much as I used to. But if Lamar wanted it done, it was going to happen.
All right. So Bobby, he's just letting us know again, this is an opinion because he's saying right there, I'm old enough to be their grandfather. I don't go in the locker room as much as I used to. And he didn't have anything to say about Lamar Jackson removing the TVs. He's like, oh, well, I'm not really in there much. He's like, but of course, if Lamar asks for it, Lamar's going to get it. So again, he's putting these opinions out there based on what? It doesn't sound like he has the relationships that he had back in the day. It doesn't sound like he's talking to people like he did back in the day. Femi Abedejo, again, yesterday on the show said, yeah, no, nobody talks to Mike Preston. And again, that's the tough thing here is that the national media were acting like he is doing all those things, but he's not. What's interesting also, Bobby, is in that first clip, he's like, man, like Lamar Jackson's this way. He doesn't have a good work ethic. And he's like, but they let him get away with it. They're like, if they feel good about that, I guess they can. But in his column, he says that John Harbaugh is getting tired of it. So which one is it? Is John Harbaugh tired of it or is John Harbaugh fine with it? Because you're actually criticizing the organization for what you're saying is poor work ethic. And on that topic of work ethic, Bobby, I didn't cut this clip, but they used some examples today, more recent, of what they think is a poor work ethic. And they talked about OTAs, that he comes in for one day for OTAs and leaves. So that's what we're going to do in January, is we're going to talk about people's OTAs. Do we really think that Lamar Jackson started off this season leading the league in touchdown passes, and then only had one interception. He was leading the league in quarterback rating before he got injured. Before he got injured, he was leading the league in so many quarterback categories, statistical categories. Nobody was talking about OTAs then, but after the injuries, we're going to pretend the injuries didn't happen, and we're going to say, oh, it's because he's not at OTAs. Then they also use the Wednesday rest days. Oh, he hasn't practiced on a Wednesday in 8 weeks. Oh, could it be because he's battling injuries? So that was their evidence that he has a poor work ethic today. Mike Preston didn't bring up the falling asleep again that I heard in this episode. He didn't bring up video. He didn't do that. He talked about those things. But all I see is different evidence of a work ethic. What I see is a guy that every single time he comes back from the offseason, he comes back with a new set of skills. What I see is a guy that won an MVP in 2019, mostly running the ball, but in 2023, mostly passing the ball. I see a guy that figures out zero blitzes. I see a guy that takes more command at the line of scrimmage. I see a guy that's less wanting to run than he did in years past. I mean, every time he comes back with an improved skill set. That to me says that there's evidence that he has a great work ethic. What about him saying that they have a poor relationship, John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson? I don't see any evidence of that. I saw it with other players. I saw J.K. Dobbins calling out coaches when he was here and wanted to run more. I saw Orlando Brown Jr. say, hey, I'm a left tackle, so you could see evidence of just some discontent. I remember Hollywood Brown saying, what's the point of having soldiers if you're not going to use them? There was some evidence of some discontent. I've never seen that from Lamar Jackson, and I've never seen it from Harbaugh to Lamar. All he does is praise him. All he does is talk about how much he appreciates him. He talks about how, especially this season, how he backs Lamar up and taking the rest days as he's feeling injured and beat up. He's backs him up with the contusion. That's all I've seen. That's all I've seen the evidence of, is that these two guys respect one another. So I'm not seeing evidence of any of those things. I don't think his evidence holds true. I see a guy that had 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 71.6% completion percentage, a 135 passer rating before he was injured. And since he's come back, that's dropped to a 59.8, 8 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and 86.8 quarterback rating. What could be the difference? Was it OTAs? No, I don't think so. Was it those rest days? No, I don't think so. I think it's that he was injured. So anyway, I think that was kind of Mike Preston's defense. I don't think it helped him at all. And I think it only bolsters my opinion that this was purely an opinion piece that he's had for years, and he found an opportune time to recycle it. And it just happened to strike gold this time in terms of the national media picking it up.
Well, now what's striking gold at the right time is Lamar perhaps being available ahead of this winner go home opportunity that is now presented with the Ravens have presented to them on Sunday night. Here he is yesterday with Snoop making his way out to practice. And
this is from Morgan Adsit.
This footage is Fox 45 right here. So there's just the opposite angle of what we shared from Ravens Productions a second ago. And for the audio only audience, he's just jogging onto the field, I should say. He is in sleeves. Snoop and Cooper Rush chose for sleeves. Lamar goes sleeveless on a chilly day, New Year's Eve in Baltimore. There's T. Martin checking on him, what we now know, thanks to the beat reporter crew, as some sort of protective operation, Sarah, a piece, if you will, on the backside to protect that contusion, the aftermath of it. I mean, gosh, it's only 10 days removed from what we watched and saw of him post-game when he made himself available to the media. So he was listed as a full participant. John Harbaugh spoke about it after practice. He had this to say.
I mean, I can't speak for Lamar or anybody, but he looked good, and I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic, and we'll see how it plays out the rest of the week.
All right, so the first of 3 practices, Sarah, and again, here's another photo captured by Ravens Productions. The first of 3 practices, unlike recent weeks, if not months, he was a full participant. Bodes well for Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be shocked if he's not going to play. I think he's going to play. He's going to be out there. He's going to be leading the team, and that's exactly what they need in order to get over the Steelers hump. Again, they beat them twice last year at the end of the year. One in some of the final weeks of the regular season, one in the playoffs. Let's see if they can do it for a second time. And I think if they use Lamar and Derrick Henry wisely, they're going to be able to repeat what they did at the end of last year.
Crazy enough, with that success that you mentioned last year, most importantly in the wild card round, the Steelers still have won 9 of the past 12 meetings with Baltimore. So that was the storyline going into last year. The Ravens they've had their number taken by Pittsburgh, and Lamar's had his number taken by Pittsburgh, but they were able to quiet some of that noise, obviously, to your point, with 2 wins, most importantly, the latter of those being an elimination game on their home turf wild card weekend. Listen to Kyle Hamilton and Mark Andrews, and then one specific part of Mark Andrews' answer that certainly confirms, Sarah, if not fully confirms, that Lamar will indeed be out there coming up on Sunday night. Both of his peers, both of his teammates going to bat for him during their pressers yesterday.
Matter of, does he want to? I think it's just a matter of, like, is he physically, like, able to do so? And that goes with any of our, most important players. If somebody's got some lingering and, may not be able to come to practice or something like that, people are asking about it. It's not just a Lamar thing, but, I've been around this dude for the past 4 years, and I know what he's about, and I know that he practices what he preaches, and if he's able to go out there and play and practice, he will do so. And, he's a warrior, and I respect him and respect who he is as a person and as a player. And but yeah, I mean, he's 2-time MVP, face of the franchise. People are probably going to talk a little bit, but it's not with any negative connotation attached to it.
Well, Lamar is like he's a polarizing person. He's been that since college, Heisman days. And you got to give a lot of credit to him and what he's been through, all throughout his career, and the type of scrutiny that he's faced and to be able to be where he's at. And, obviously this year, hasn't been, the way he's drawn it up, but he's a fighter, and he's going to continue to fight for this organization. And everybody in this organization has trust in Lamar, man. He's one of one. He's incredible. And I'm excited to take the field with him this week because, that's our guy, and, he knows the type of opportunity that we have, and we're going to fight our butts off.
You heard the last part of that, right? I'm excited to take the field with him this week. All right. I think we can pretty much write it in ink that, barring something unforeseen, Lamar's going to play. But Sarah, as we said a couple minutes ago, no coincidence, right? No coincidence that Kyle Van Noy uses his national opportunity to go on with Kay Adams and defend Lamar. No coincidence that John goes into, which is rare, the nitty-gritty of the back contusion, as if to say, look, this is not something that you just play through. And then I don't think it's any coincidence that Kyle and Mark said what they said yesterday. And you heard Kyle there at the top, quote, I don't think it's ever a matter of does he want to? I think it's just a matter of is he physically able to do so? I've been around this dude for the past 4 years. I know what he's about. I know that he practices what he preaches. If he's able to go out there and play and practice, then he will do so. He's a warrior, and I respect him. And maybe nothing more significant than what Mark said during his answer, Sarah. He's a fighter, and he's going to continue to fight for this organization. Everybody in this organization has trust in Lamar. So, again, 2 of your leaders there, 2 of the guys that you often hear at the podium, coming to the defense in rather fierce way of their teammate.
Have you ever been trying to accomplish one thing and you're putting everything into it, and the harder you try for it, everybody thinks you're trying to do the opposite? It's the most frustrating place to be in when you're completely misunderstood. All I see is a quarterback that has been fighting injuries since week 4, fighting. And instead of being look at Lamar and how hard he's fighting, like his teammates are doing, because they can see what's going on behind the scenes. And instead of giving him credit, being man, Lamar's been gutting it out. Lamar's showing up for his team every moment that he can, seeing the pain that he was in after that New England game with the back contusion that he couldn't believe. He's just fighting nonstop. He's in the building getting treatment, overcoming every single ailment. And instead of saying, look at how gutsy he's being, look at how he's sacrificing his body, look at how he's putting everything on the line, instead he's being called soft and a faker and not there for his team. I mean, it's just got to be listen, they're obviously paid handsomely, but that doesn't mean that it's not frustrating for people to twist and say that you're doing the exact opposite of what you actually are doing.
Let's Let's get to some super chats as they've come in so far. Paul Warren has become our newest channel member and official VAULTRON status. David Scott says, Happy New Year, everyone, and go Ravens. David, Happy New Year to you and yours. And Captain Hard, Sarah, weighing in on our opening segment today.
Captain Hard says, Mike Preston basically said he wanted to make conflict. Zero respect for him. Just the most lame arse excuse to release that column. Both has a face. Both has a face only a mother could love.
And why don't you take another one from Shoot of the J?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Smooth of the J says, so basically he took his opinions by other influencers on social media and summarized it into a column. Lazy. Sounds like an effort by Preston to stay relevant like those same influencers he borrowed from. Happy New Year's, Swagoo.
I think you must have loved Swagoo's segment from earlier this week. Shoot the J. Or shoot a J. I need help on that one. Isaiah, thank you for the super chat, by the way, Jay. Appreciate you. Isaiah Bowers is celebrating 4 months of channel membership with us. And Isaiah writes, Happy New Year, everyone. Not letting the Grinch, a.k.a. Mike Preston, rage bait me anymore. I know he won't. But it would be awesome to see Lamar address him directly. Hashtag Mike Flores. And that brings us to Truth Bearer weighing in.
He says, Mike Preston saying he was trying to motivate Lamar is clown work. Trying to set himself up to take credit instead of eating crow if we make a title run.
I think the word was challenge.
Challenge, yeah.
To be clear.
Yeah, motivate, challenge, yep.
To be clear. But appreciate you, Truth Bearer. And thanks to all of you for weighing in today with your super chats. We'll get back to them as they come in. Over 2,000, 2,100 and counting today in terms of concurrence watching us real time. So happy New Year to you and yours. We're thrilled that you're with us today. And we're looking forward to not only Sunday, but this upcoming year, whatever it has. We appreciate your consistent support that all of you give us, whether in real time or not, whether in audio only or not. We appreciate you, Voltrons, and thanks for all the love and support. ZipRecruiter is our newest sponsor, and if you're hiring for your company, it's a busy time of year. You've got 2026 goals to achieve, and that means obviously finding the right people to accomplish them. You also have new hiring challenges for the upcoming year, like filling specialized roles or identifying qualified candidates from a huge pool of applicants. Lucky for you, there is a place that you can go to help you conquer these challenges and achieve your hiring goals, and that is our newest friends at ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free by visiting ZipRecruiter.com/audio. You're seeing the screen share of that landing page. Go check it out. We also have it linked in our show notes if you're interested in learning more. Let ZipRecruiter help you find the best people for all of your roles. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And again, you can see for yourself by visiting ZipRecruiter.com/audio. And you can go check it out for free today. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. It's the smartest way to hire. We appreciate them for sponsoring this show. And partner, we have to give away a $100 Fanatics gift card right now before we go any further. So let's do it.
Let's do that.
Yes, and it's all thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage, of course, another one of our wonderful sponsors. And every single month since September, we've done these giveaways. And in order to enter yourself in, by the way, we have 40 entries. 40 entries. Those of you who participated in this month, we'll have another one coming up this month. We'll drop that at some point within the next few days. But all you had to do was go to Primary Residential Mortgage on Instagram, which is always linked in our show notes. The handle is at PRMI Mid-Atlantic. We asked you to follow them. We asked you to comment on the post that you see on the screen with the hashtag Vault and tag 3 friends that you'd buy a house with. We also asked you to subscribe to the Vault. Hopefully you already do. And Sarah, thanks to our randomized process of how we figure out. And by the way, look at all the people that participated. I mean, it's
great.
People went to nitty-gritty detail, which they didn't necessarily need to do. We didn't ask you what your dream home was this time around. We just asked you, hey, use the hashtag. Look at that. I mean, look at John. John decides to put in a monologue here of what he wants one day. So we do appreciate the effort. Thanks to all of you who participated. But this month's winner, meaning December's winner, is Lizzie Babes. Elizabeth Kruger, we will hit you up in your DMs or maybe just in the comment section here so that you can reach out to us, or you can just reach out to us right now if you happen to be watching live. It's BaltimoreRavensVault at gmail.com. That's how you can get in touch with us, and we will get you your $100 Fanatics gift card giveaway because you are the winner. So happy New Year to the Kruger family. Happy New Year to Elizabeth. She is our $100 Fanatics gift card giveaway. So more on that coming up. Thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support. And partner, how was the Cleveland game? Did you have fun at the NBA game yesterday?
I had a blast at the Cleveland game. Donovan Mitchell did not disappoint. He's always good for, 3 or 4 highlight reel plays. It's just unreal what he can do and the amount of the defenders have to pay attention to him. So the Cavs had the game in hand pretty much the entire time. I think the closest it got for like a split second was they got as close to 4 points and then they took off again. They were ahead by double digits almost the entire time, but it was awesome. Took my son up there, went with a friend, and just enjoyed the day. Got up there pretty easily, came back in a lot of snow, Bobby. It got a little bit scary coming back. I'll tell you that. I felt like my car was sliding a little bit. There were some people kind of in the median. It was super snowy on our way back, but I'm happy to say we got back in safe and sound. And I had to tell my husband that because he was definitely nervous the entire time.
This time of year in Ohio, good. I'm glad you guys are all in one piece. And those matinees this time of year are fun and a good way of breaking up the week. So I'm glad you guys had a great time. And before we shift gears to our next topic at hand here, a couple more super chats came in. We might as well knock these out. Captain Hard says, Lamar missed a Wednesday practice. Nick Wright used that as he didn't practice at all that week and wasn't going to play again this season because of a contract. As soon as he returned yesterday, crickets. Evan is here with us.
He says, happy belated birthday, Sarah. I share my birthday with King Henry. The only present I want is a Ravens victory. Go Ravens. Look at all of us Capricorns around here. Lamar Jackson's a Capricorn. Let's go.
I was going to say, and I guess that makes my brother John, right? New Year's Eve, baby. He turned 23 yesterday. So the kid was out in DC with all of his buddies, and he's hilarious over the years. Like we always joke with him, like, could this be the year that you actually enjoy your birthday? He hates the fact that like a massive holiday is his birthday. And like, there's always a celebration that comes with it. I don't know if that's like that he doesn't like to be celebrated or more like everybody is celebrating and it's not often about him on his day.
Yep.
I don't know. He's never really talked about it. But a New Year's Eve, baby. Happy 23rd. Happy belated 23rd to John.
Happy birthday to him. My sister's birthday is also New Year's Eve. My birthday, we're always back to back. And she always tells herself that the whole world is celebrating her. That's how she likes to do it. So maybe John can do the same.
All right. I will relay that to him and see if he can dive into it, fully embrace it. So we are embracing, obviously, week 18 and the regular season finale that is upcoming on Sunday night, 8:20. Sarah and I will have our post-game coverage typically around midnight or so. Let's set the table, partner, because really a lot of this has to do with availability. It's week 18. Nobody's truly healthy. But take a look at what Pittsburgh's dealing with going into this game. Remember, no DK Metcalf. That is for non-injury reasons. That is the second of a 2-game suspension that's being served to him. As far as other pieces to the puzzle for Pittsburgh is concerned, TJ Watt took a good step forward, Sarah, and Mike Tomlin's optimistic that he will play. Obviously, he's just a couple weeks removed from that partially collapsed lung that did require a minor procedure, and he was limited on Wednesday. As for one of the pass catchers at Aaron Rodgers' disposal, Calvin Austin III, sort of a shifty, quick player, a veteran at this point in his career, he was limited with a hamstring. The rest of this list is as what you see here, nothing really dire. But the big deal, Sarah, that I think probably is not garnering enough attention leading into this rematch is the fact that Derek Harmon, their talented first-round pick and a run-stuffer specialist, he wasn't available earlier this month when these two teams met up for the first time. And as Chris Carter, I think we've both been on Chris's show, take a look at what he shares here from Sumer Sports. The Steelers go from allowing 4.56 rushing yards per play when Derek isn't on the field to 3.54 when he is. That is insane, and it's a change from a rate that would rank, as Chris puts it here, 25th league-wide to first. So look, I know the Ravens have their own beast on their side of the field in Derrick Henry, and he's going to be ready to go. We're going to share some numbers to suggest and really tell you just how dominant he's been in the month of December and where he ranks, by the way, quietly maybe. It seems crazy that you have a top 5 rusher who's quietly having that type of season, but that's who the Ravens do have in Derrick Henry. But Sarah, I don't think we should overstate the importance of Derek Harmon in year one, their first rounder, who I know you and I were both very high on coming out of college as we started to kind of sink our teeth into his draft stock back in April. But this is a big deal, and he will be available for them coming up on Sunday night.
It's a massive deal. I mean, this is a massive guy. Therefore, it is a massive deal. What's funny, Bobby, is with him out, the Ravens had a decent running day. I mean, it wasn't, Derrick Henry running for 200 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. But just looking back to their week 14 game, Derrick Henry was just under 100 yards. So he was 94. And we only averaged 3.8 yards per game. I mean, it is what that is. So 94 yards. Keaton Mitchell added 76. And Lamar had 43 that day. So, let's see. They're close to 200 yards as a team. And they still lost that game. So with Derek Harmon back, it's just going to make things more difficult. You're not going to, unless they commit to it, like I hope that they do. Hopefully the offensive line is able to block the way that I felt like they did last week against the Packers. Although I do think Steelers, again, with Derek Harmon, Highsmith, and I do think TJ Watt is going to play. I'm looking at Brooke Pryor, friend of the show. She just tweeted 36 minutes ago a quote from their defensive coordinator, Terrell Austin, on TJ Watt. He says, it'll be great to have him back. In what capacity, we don't know until Sunday, but it'll be great to have him back. Can you imagine a world where TJ Watt isn't doing everything he can to play in this game?
No.
They probably tried to get away with it last week. Who knows? Maybe he could have gone last week. Who knows if the season was on the line? Maybe they felt like they could get away with it and be like, hey, we'll go ahead and rest him. Go ahead and beat the Browns, then we can rest him again because it wouldn't matter against the Ravens. But now he's got to, just like Lamar Jackson's going to do everything he can to play. TJ's going to be out there. Lamar's going to be out there. Derek Harmon's going to be out there. All the stars are going to be out there. The rushing yards are definitely going to be harder to come by with this man on the field.
Listen to Mike Tomlin's comments from earlier this season. This is so telling in terms of what Pittsburgh's really main objectives were going into the offseason when the Ravens sent them into a tailspin almost a year ago in January in the wild card round. We all remember what happened. 300 rushing yards is what the Ravens hung on Pittsburgh's defense in that elimination wild card round last year, and it prompted Mike to say this.
You talk openly about building your team in the offseason to deal with the AFC North a lot of times. How did what happened at the end of last season in Baltimore impact the way you went about constructing this team this year?
The acquisition of bigs. You saw our emphasis in the draft around big people, fortifying our depth in that area. And certainly it's been required. We've certainly had some attrition in that area. Dean Lowry, Loudermilk, and Derek Harmon has missed a couple of stretches. And so that depth with young people like YA and O and others, man, is significant. You can't run out of bigs. If you run out of bigs in AFC North ball, you're running on the beach, certainly.
All right, Sarah, that was we played it a couple months ago, whenever that was in season, and it was obvious, and they're not hiding from it, that they literally built their offseason around what went wrong for them and what they weren't fully prepared for personnel-wise in that wild card round. And by the way, one of them is Derek, and you just heard there from Mike earlier on in the season, he hasn't been fully available for them this year. They have had a level of attrition or lack thereof. 11 games, 7 of which were started for Derek Harmon. But as the numbers suggest up on the screen, when they've had him available, he's been ready to roll. And Sarah, he better be ready to roll, because here's going to be who's rolling at him. Take a look at Derrick Henry this month of December, as compiled by NFL Researcher. His 90 carries rank first league-wide. His 538 rushing yards ranks first league-wide. His 6 rushing touchdowns, 4 of which were in one game, ranked first. His 29 rushing first downs, meaning chain moving, first. And always, Sarah, is he never not in first or right around it in this category? His 395 rushing yards after contact ranks first. He's the only player in NFL history with 500 or more rushing yards in December in 4 different seasons. He will turn 32 on game day coming up Sunday night. And look who's quietly leapfrogged into top 3 territory in terms of overall rushing yards. It will not be a season where he flirts with, unless he goes nuclear on Sunday, 2,000 yards. But wow, look at him. James Cook, Jonathan Taylor lead the way. Derrick Henry with 1,469 rushing yards is a top 3 back this year. Bijan and Achane flank and round out the top 5. But the fact that Derrick all of a sudden, like almost overnight, quietly has 1,500 rushing yards and probably will finish with a number that's north of that.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him, man. Good for him.
And those are his numbers over the past month.
Yeah.
But circling this back to what Mike Tomlin said in terms of drafting Derek Carman, wanting the bigs because of what the Ravens did to them. Just a reminder, in week 16 last year, the Ravens won 34-17. I mean, that's not a normal Ravens steal. Like usually you're deciding it by 1 score or less. And so with that week 17 game, Derrick Henry went off for 162 yards. Lamar only had 22 himself, and then Justice Hill had 30. Then if we climb into the postseason where they met in the wild card round, they couldn't stop Derrick Henry again. He did even better. He had 186 yards. 186 yards. That's 7.2 yards per clip. And he had 2 touchdowns. Oh, and by the way, in that game, Lamar had 81 yards. So between the two of them, they were over 250 against these Pittsburgh Steelers. And so it's interesting to me, Bobby, because a lot of times around the draft or during free agency, I'll write tweets that say, oh, this team did this because of the Ravens did this. Or I'll say the Ravens did this because of that team. Fans are offended by it, but you just heard Mike Tomlin say it. 1,000% teams build their rosters to win their division. Mike Tomlin just said it there. I used to hear Ozzie Newsome say it all the time. Hey, we're trying to beat the Pittsburgh. I mean, sometimes they don't like to say their names, but basically saying we want to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what these guys do. These guys aren't putting rosters together to say, oh, I hope that I beat the I don't know, say Seattle Seahawks who are in the NFC, or, oh, I'm trying to beat the Rams who are in the NFC. No, they build their rosters to beat their division. Derrick Henry punished them. They did better without Derek Carman, but now here we go. This is what they drafted him for. This is what it's all about. It's going to be Derek Carman against the other Derrick Henry. Will Todd Monken stick by it? Will John Harbaugh stick by it? Or will they abandon it? This is what will be one of the stories of the game.
I know the Hall of Famer Tony Dungy is pondering that very question.
The fourth quarter, and I want to see if Derrick Henry's in the game. We saw Baltimore have a game that they had in hand, they had the lead, and Derrick Henry's on the sidelines with us. We're standing there on the sidelines watching and saying, what in the world is going on? I promise you, if they have the lead and they're trying to run the clock out, Derrick Henry will be in the game on Sunday night.
Tony Dungy, of course, was part of the crew, Sarah. Sunday Night Football, we just watched that unfold. We all remember what happened after the 12-minute, 50-second mark in the fourth quarter on Sunday Night Football against the Patriots. But look, bottom line is the king was brought in for games like these. And until the Steelers and their overall defensive strategy stands tall and dictates you playing offensive football otherwise, then stick to your guns and keep them on the field for third down situations like we keep asking for as well. We've talked about that, and we saw it work really, really well with Snoop Huntley executing this offense this past Saturday night in Green Bay. And ultimately, as Rodney Harrison was asking, at this point, what are you saving him for? Ultimately, it's do or don't and do or die. And so, yeah, you want Derek and you want your entire arsenal healthy enough to go play the following week after this upcoming weekend and host a wild card game, because that's what's at stake as the 4 seed. What's also at stake is wrapping up the division for consecutive seasons, 3 consecutive seasons to be exact, which has never happened in the AFC North history. But again, I think we all get the point at this point, and that is next week and all the future doesn't matter unless you get there, and they got to do what's gotten there in the past against this Steelers team and go and actually test their personnel department and their scouting department and make sure they ask themselves, did we do enough based on what we ultimately went into this offseason trying to accomplish?
I really hope the Green Bay Packers game plan, which was a John Harbaugh and Todd Monken repentance game plan, I really hope that repentance is not only one week lived. Let's hope that repentance game plan continues into Pittsburgh Sunday night.
Speaking of game planning, Mike DeFabo here, Jeff Zariebek's counterpart on The Athletic for the Pittsburgh side of things, put together some interesting statistics in week 14. So last month, when the first time these two teams met, which we all remember that one, 27-22, Pittsburgh wins. A lot of officiating nuance that there is to remember about that, and a Ravens game that obviously they just did not play well enough to win there. On top of that, the Ravens played man coverage on 35.3% of plays, their 4th highest rate of the season. Again, that was week 14 with DK Metcalf on the field. In those situations, Rodgers was 7 of 12 for 163 yards. That was a season high that Aaron did against man coverage, and a touchdown for an EPA per attempt of 0.58 and a passer rating of 130.6. And you see what Mike has here, Sarah, that this will not be a component of what the Steelers have at their disposal. DK Metcalf had 2 receptions and 80 yards versus man. Far and away, the Ravens really struggled with him right from the opening drive that they were defending him and Aaron Rodgers. You take that component out, who's a man beater for you that's consistently doing it for Pittsburgh? I think they're going to be able to move the ball and really maybe only exclusively move the ball across the middle with Pat Freiermuth and a couple of their other players. They don't have man beaters there. And I think if the Ravens defense shows up the way that it has really all year long and stops the run, they're going to be forced to find a man beater. And ultimately, if they're moving the ball well enough on this Ravens defense to move the chains through the middle of the field, then ultimately the Ravens are going to have to bend and just not break and make sure that Pittsburgh settles for field goals. Because if that's not the case, it's going to be a long night and Lamar's going to be asked, probably nowhere near 100%, to put up some sort of barn-burning shootout type number that allows the Ravens to hang in this game.
Yeah, and so to your point here with DK Metcalf, we're seeing here that Rodgers in those man coverage situations had 163 yards. 80 of them were to DK.
Yeah.
So he's half of that. Of that. And that's 7 of 12. So 2 of those receptions. So then he has 5 that has to be split up between all the rest. So obviously it does look like Calvin Austin is coming back. So they'll be able to lean into that. They'll have
MVS.
MVS and Freiermuth, as you said, and
he likes his running backs as pass catchers too, both of them, including Gainwell, who's the 3rd leading receiver on the team.
Yeah, but to your point, like if they can stop the run, great. Then make MVS or Austin and Freiermuth can do some damage, but most of that's going to be underneath stuff. The Ravens have actually given up the underneath stuff all year long because their coverage is so soft. They play so far back, they play so far back. And I don't know if that's the game plan, stop the run, and then we'll let Aaron dink and dunk his way. That seems like a fine game plan to me, as long as you're clean on the offensive side of the ball. Do not give them a short field. More
schematic types of statistics here that Mike Tomlin mentioned Tuesday, according to DeFabo, that the Ravens have been playing more zone recently, which we've watched. True Media has Baltimore playing man at its 2 lowest rates of the season, week 17, 11.4%, and week 15, 16.9%. They also played man 29.6% of the time in week 16, which is slightly below their season average. So again, this is going to be a very, very interesting chess match, depending on how this opening quarter goes, and depending on which version of this Ravens defense, particularly in the secondary, Sarah, and maybe even for a young player who's trying to bounce back from what probably was the worst game of his young career in Nate Wiggins, what does he show up as? And ultimately, what's his assignment? Because when you take DK off the field, as we've had this slide up for a while, but I think it warrants repeat. Aaron is night and day. He is night and day with and without DK. His completion percentage, yards per attempt, and passer ratings all plummet when DK's off the field, and it's no surprise as to why. So, some game within the game in terms of the strategies that are going to be deployed coming up on Sunday night, Sarah. But oh boy, talent does not always win you the game. But goodness gracious, there's such a gap that you'd think it'd have to be a major role based on bodies or lack thereof that Pittsburgh's going to have to try and be tasked with to stop this Ravens offense.
I mean, talent means a lot. I just get sometimes nervous with this secondary because sometimes they'll play so strong and it's just like, oh man, they can't cover forever. They got to get some pressure on these quarterbacks. And that's partially what I'm nervous about is like Aaron Rodgers at 41, 42, however old he is, if he's got time, doesn't matter if DK's out there or not.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like MVS or Freiermuth or Austin will break free.
Yes.
So do not give Aaron Rodgers time. They got to find a way. And that is the difference last week with the Browns is that he was so afraid of Myles Garrett. It was so clear. And maybe afraid's not the right word. I mean, but Myles Garrett had all of Aaron Rodgers' attention. Yeah. The game plan, everything was to make sure that Myles Garrett didn't touch him and that he didn't get the sack record. There's nobody on the Ravens team that can do that. And most teams don't have a Myles Garrett. But regardless, we've seen backup quarterbacks carve up this secondary, partially just because the secondary doesn't play well, but also because there's so much time where they're patting the ball down there, sipping their pina coladas. So that can't happen.
It's easy to write off this offense knowing that Metcalf's off the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you do have to kind of look yourself in the mirror from a Ravens perspective and be like, if they're not getting home, if they're not pressuring Rodgers and he's surveying the field and he's allowed to go through multiple progressions, first read, second read, and sure, mobility is not, I mean, he rushed for a freaking touchdown against the Ravens in week 14, but we know that mobility is not going to be a calling card of his at 42. It really never has been throughout his career. You give anybody time, like you said, you give Malik Willis time. All due respect to him, he may have made himself some money. Who knows? Maybe he's starting somewhere next season.
Yeah.
But you're going to give Rodgers time, and not only will the middle of the field become susceptible, but anywhere. And we know that he likes his back shoulder fades with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So the Ravens are going to have to be on assignment. And who's going to step up, whether it's the young rook and Mike Green, who's putting the finishing touches on what's been a solid season for him, or perhaps a guy that probably wants an extension in Draymond Jones, or a guy that I don't know how much more of the youthful fountain that there's to sip from, but KVN's going to be looking for it come Sunday night. And you know what kind of interior presence you're going to get from Travis Jones. But who's going to be that guy? Who's going to have Aaron Rodgers under duress? And if it's none of them, will put Zach in a position where he's got to start dialing up DB blitzes, because he will do that.
But that's the thing, though. It's like you can confuse younger quarterbacks with some of the manufactured stuff, but Aaron Rodgers will read it.
Yep.
And he'll know where to go with the ball, and then you got nobody to help. And while he could have plenty of time, on the opposite end, I mean, look at TJ Watt. Like Lamar Jackson may be having to deal with him again.
Yeah.
Here's some practice footage from the fan in Pittsburgh, and he looks fine to me.
Yep.
I mean, again, he's not hitting anybody, but like this isn't a guy that like seems to be favoring anything. Sometimes guys will return to practice and you can see them holding back or wincing or whatever. I mean, this man's going to play. And so the Ravens are going to have to worry about him and Hyde-Smith and Derek Carman. So on one end, one quarterback could have plenty of time. And then the other end, a quarterback may not have so much time, which is why you're going to have to play it smart on both ends.
Yeah, not only are they doing that too, but I've seen some drill highlights make their way onto the timeline in terms of going after the football, of course, punching for the football. Not all that long ago, Sarah, we were having conversations about the speed skater label that was attached to the Ravens after that Patriots game by one of their linebackers. So they're going to have to be absolutely on assignment, on task, and ball security coming at a major premium coming up on Sunday night. And maybe Marlon Humphrey puts the bow on this conversation that he was quoted for saying the NFL script writers, they did a good job with this one. Ravens, Steelers, what more could you want given that both of these teams have had their fair share of struggles? Yes, you would have want a playoff berth clinched well before this, Sarah, if you're a Ravens fan, but ultimately to be where they are now, to have gotten the help that they so desperately needed from Cleveland, to have dominated the Packers on their home turf at a historic venue in Lambeau with all the world watching. I think we're just a couple days away from really the conversation shifting from, why it hasn't been them to why not them. And that's what's coming up. That's what they have at their fingertips.
The players on both sides of the ball know how big this is and how it's set up perfectly for TV. So you referenced Marlon Humphrey. Here he is talking about it.
That's great. I mean, it is like I joke around that the NFL scriptwriters they did good with this one. I think with this rivalry, with how it all just the craziness that just happened of how it all went down. This is like playing 9 years here. This is just honestly like a dream. Honestly, a dream scenario to be able to play your rival in their stadium. A team doesn't like each other too much. The two head coaches been there for a while. Aaron Rodgers, a great quarterback. Lamar Jackson, a great quarterback. It's great.
We all know. I mean, it ended up so well that it does feel like maybe there are some script writers. There's not, but it's fun to joke about. Meanwhile, on the other side, Patrick Queen also knows how big of a deal it is. Although he kind of took a different take. He said, quote, when you look at the whole building, when you look at the people who work here, them getting an extra check getting in the playoffs, the teammates who aren't making a whole bunch or a ton of money, getting them another check, just trying to win, just trying to be legendary, trying to build your legacy up and doing whatever it takes to get there. He says it's everything. They know how much this means on both sides of the ball.
That's cool. He got the equivalent of what Kyle Hamilton received yesterday in Baltimore. Patrick got in Pittsburgh, sort of like the media good guy, if you will.
Yep.
So Kyle Hamilton swept both awards that are decided on by the media. The team MVP, probably an easy pick, and media good guy. So congratulations to Kyle and PQ and obviously you already know Patrick may have quieted down with some of the things he was saying about the animosity or perhaps his discontent with the way that his time in Baltimore came to an end, but you already know he's still thinking that between his ears, and there's a lot to play for, needless to say, coming up on Sunday night. What other quick hits you got here for us?
Oh, just that, I think Joe Burrow is taking a different point of view with the Myles Garrett record. So last week, obviously, Myles was going up against the Steelers. We just talked about what Aaron Rodgers did to prevent him from setting the record. Joe Burrow, he's going to take, he doesn't want to get sacked, but here's what he had to say about a potential record for Myles Garrett on him.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to overcompensate either way. I'm not going to go out of my way to not let him get the record, and I'm not going to go out of my way to let him get the record either. I'm going to go and play football. There's going to be situations that a sack is the best of the bad outcomes of that play, and maybe I take one. And there's going to be other situations that I'm about to get sacked, and I need to throw it away in that situation. It's such a situational game that I don't think you can go in thinking one way or the other.
So there we go. He's not trying to. That's not what the game is about. His game plan is to win. It would help to not get sacked, but he's just got to play his game.
That's fair. Elsewhere, some quick hits that I meant for yesterday, but I just decided Femi and I went long that I just shifted them over to today. So this is somewhat old news, and he's since been claimed. But Trayvon Diggs was released by the Dallas Cowboys earlier this week, and there was a lot of conversation surrounding this. The most important part of it from a player's perspective is that he just hasn't been good. And Brennan Deeg did a good job of breaking down just how much he's struggled. 17 receptions on 20 targets, 4 touchdowns allowed, 158.3 passer rating allowed, 0 PBUs. You see the target EPA number. It's the highest passer rating allowed among 616 qualified corners with at least 20 targets in a season since 2020. So again, not a great ending to his time as a Dallas Cowboy. So Sarah, I guess I brought this in earlier in the week because as it tends to be in fan bases across, I would say not just the National Football League, I'm sure it's across all professional sports fan bases, that when a talented player, even though he hasn't looked talented of late, becomes available, of course, yours, the one that you cover, we cover, is like, oh, Ravens, you going to make a call? Well, I don't know if they were interested, but too little, too late. He's going to Green Bay. He's been claimed by the Packers, Sarah. And I just saw a tweet from Rob Demovsky, who covers the Packers. And LaFleur says, their head coach says that he could potentially play for them on Sunday. So happens all the time. One man's trash is another one's treasure. We'll see if Trayvon Diggs ends up playing good football for the Green Bay Packers. But my, oh my, maybe this is the bigger deal in terms of what it means for the AFC playoff picture, because Sarah, obviously New England's been way ahead of schedule. And in year one with Mike Vrabel, he's going to be one of the top seeds in the conference. And there's a real chance that at some point over their playoff run, there could be uncertainty around Stephon Diggs' availability because he has been charged with felony strangulation or suffocation and a misdemeanor assault and battery stemming from an incident on December 2nd. That is what court documents in Massachusetts showed. New England released a statement. They're supporting him for the moment. Diggs has categorically denied the allegations, so innocent until proven guilty, obviously. But take a look at these details that offer more from the court documents, that they revealed that Diggs' personal chef alleges that she was slapped, choked, thrown onto her bed over a pay dispute. There's also screenshots of the text that are making their way through the Twitter sphere. The woman claims that Diggs demanded she sign an NDA after the assault as a condition of further payment. But again, pretty gruesome. The reason why I bring it up is because this could affect not only the Patriots, but the AFC playoff picture. So something to watch going into the year. And all of this came down on the same day. By the way, Trayvon and Stephon are brothers. So an interesting day in the Diggs family, but I bring it up because of what it means for the conference moving forward.
Right. Well, that's I don't know much about the situation more than what you've outlined here in the report. So like you said, innocent until proven guilty. If the charges are true, obviously your thoughts go out to his personal chef. That's tough stuff. In terms of the AFC picture, why you're bringing it up in case he could be out, it feels like the NFL doesn't give suspensions based off of allegations and charges alone. They changed that for a minute, and then it seems like they've kind of gone back. So obviously, remember Justin Tucker and all the charges and the allegations that happened there. The Ravens and the NFL really did an investigation first, and then they came with their ultimate decision. Now with the Ravens, they say that they let go of Tucker because, it was time and they did it, once they had their rookie kicker in. But Justin was here with the rookie kicker, right? Like they waited.
I don't know if they were ever in the same building together. Was Justin away from the facility? Were they spending time together? I'd have to check with Jeff on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. But my point is like the NFL didn't give us a suspension right away when the charges were made. They didn't do, you know what I mean, when the allegations are made. In fact, there were no charges, actually. There were no charges with Justin Tucker because I think it was beyond the statute of limitations. So I don't know that this is going to affect the AFC picture is what I'm saying. Although the NFL could change the way they do things because there are charges. But it seems like that's the way they've been operating as of recently.
No, it's a good point. These things take time. His arraignment, however, is scheduled for January 23rd. That's the Friday before the AFC Championship game. Now, obviously, they would need to get to the AFC title game in order for this to be a conversation. But yeah, there's obviously we know that things can be really require a lot of time and care and sensitivity when it comes to these, in this case, these allegations that are out there. So that is that. And that finishes up Quick Hits. And that brings us to our patrons, Alyssa Thomas and Ivan Gunn. Thank you both for believing in what we're building. Happy New Year to you both. And this is your shout out because of the support that you guys give us through Patreon. So appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful start to 2026. And partner, you have got to get on the road. So I appreciate you. Safe travels. You and I will be back tomorrow as usual. You'll be outside of your studio. So we look forward to
yeah, I'll still be here tomorrow.
Yep, getting ready for Friday night, or excuse me, for Sunday night. And I will be live later on this afternoon. Press conferences for coordinators will take place over the next couple hours. And tell Trevor I said hello. Give him my best.
I will. Appreciate that. And Happy New Year. Can't believe it's the day. Have I asked you this before? Do you do goals? Do you do new goals like New Year's resolutions?
Typically I just try to live in a way where, if resolutions need to be had, then it doesn't matter what month, what day, what time of year, I'm willing to make them. And if I have goals that are easily obtainable and get obtained, then I shift gears and course correct throughout the season. So that's a long way of saying, I think as I've gotten older, I've leaned away from that, but I'm sure once I have kids, hopefully if I have kids one day, then that'll start to come back as I kind of like set themselves up for that. But how do you view it?
When? You can say when instead of if on the kids thing.
As the days go on, partner, as the days go on, that adoption agency looks better and better.
No, but I've noticed that about you. Actually, you do like you self-assess a lot throughout the year, and I know when it's happening because all of a sudden like this fire is lit under you, and all of a sudden you're doing all this stuff for the show. So I can only imagine what you do also do in your personal life. So I do find that true with you, and I try to self-assess also, and I'm off and on, but every once in a while I do it, and I kind of have the urge to do it this time. Maybe I'll do it on my plane ride tonight, but I want to do goals like instead of just like say, hey, here's the year. I want to do it in all the different kind of roles that I play in my life, right? So I could have goals for the vault, and like, what are those goals? Then I want to have goals as a mother, and then what are my goals as a wife? What are my goals as a teacher at church? What are my goals as a friend? Like, what are my personal goals? You know what I mean? Just stuff like that, health-wise and all of that. So we'll see if I get time on the plane today, but I think I have an urge to do it this year.
I think that's pretty cool. It's a lot easier to look at it rather than, because when you break it down category by category, it can become a little bit more clarity driven. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to do it rather than just having a blank piece of paper,
Yeah. No, so. I like that.
And I don't like to be afraid of goals because here's the thing is like, I feel like oftentimes people don't want to set goals because your goals become a judge.
Sure.
Your goals judge you.
Yeah.
And if you put down the standard and you fail, listen, I don't accomplish all my goals, but can you look at that and be like, oh, I failed. Yeah, I failed, and like allow yourself to be judged by your own goals because and a lot of times I think that you can run from goals because you're afraid to be judged. And it's really just you judging yourself by your own goals. So I don't want to be afraid of those. And I want to have them written down and look at them. And instead of being afraid of them, shoot for them.
I love it. I love it. And you're just making me think of, there's one that comes to mind right now. This is a wedding year for our family. Tori is getting married in Cincinnati in June. It's the first. We're a very tight-knit group. So I think all of us, and you could feel this over Christmas, all of us we're always aware of wellness and having a level of wellness in our lives, whether it be fitness, spiritual, whatever. But I think we're going to take it to the nth degree so that we're all looking and feeling our best for what's going to be like an unforgettable day and an unforgettable time leading up to that day. So I'll leave you with that.
That's great. That's awesome.
All right. Appreciate everybody for all of your support. Hope you all had a wonderful start to 2026 and a healthy, happy, successful, safe, you name it, upcoming year ahead. We're not changing anything. We'll have goals and we will shift those goals if need be, but we ain't going anywhere. And this is probably the biggest week of the year. Not probably, definitely coming up on Sunday night. So Sarah and I'll be back with you tomorrow. Join me later on this afternoon on my side of things for more Ravens coverage, more chatter, and more lead up and build up to perhaps the game of the year from a Ravens perspective. Sunday night, 8:20. Thanks to Manta Sleep. Thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage. Thanks to ZipRecruiter. Thanks to you, partner. And thanks to all of you, including the 3,100 plus concurrents that are chilling with us right now. We appreciate you. If you could on the way out, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. Sarah and I will catch up with you at 12 noon Eastern on Friday as we set the table once final time. Coming up, Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh.